Well, welcome to a special edition of the Proper Scoundrels podcast, where we felt it to be relevant enough to jump in really quickly and talk about things that are happening in the world.
Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody, but this is not the New Year way that I wanted to kick things off. I didn't have terrorism on my bingo card for this year, so that caught me at a surprise. I listen to podcasts on my way to work. I've spoke about that, and one of the ones I listen to a lot is the Sean Ryan show. And if for the listeners, if you haven't heard of his show, I strongly, strongly suggest you do it. His podcasts are pretty lengthy, um, 2 to 5 hours of him and really good guests talking. Um, but they have been um, warning of terrorist attacks since mid last year. Um, and it's finally happening, but our federal government hasn't taken any heed to the warnings. So drop the ball again.
Yeah, so last night, um, as I was going to bed, I stayed up late playing video games with my nephew and did not get a battle royale, but we still had a good night, good sober night. And as I was going to bed, this was a little bit before midnight my time. I literally had the thought, I wonder what I'm going to wake up to in the morning. I wonder what kind of terrorist activity, or at least terror activity, because I have an opinion not based on any evidence at all, just an opinion, just a man with an opinion about it. But with the car attacks in Europe, where we had two where people drove cars into busy markets, those are super soft targets. I was like, I would not be surprised to see something like that. I don't ever think about New Orleans. I don't go to New Orleans. It's not my scene. Um, I went when I was much younger, but now I'm much more campfire than I am big party.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I did kind of have like this echo in my mind that, something might happen. Couldn't have predicted this by any means. So last night, or this morning rather, at 3 a.m., a man drove a pickup truck at a high rate of speed down Bourbon Street, which is kind of interesting to me because I'm like, how did he get onto Bourbon Street? I don't
Mm-hmm.
think I don't think anyone uses Bourbon Street for actual activities other than like a pedestrian area. And
So correct me where I'm wrong, but didn't he drive down a like a secondary street? Because New Orleans is very grid based, right? It's a planned out city. So Bourbon Street is like our main road, and then there's another road that comes in. He came down this road and ended up on Bourbon Street, right?
from the map that I looked at, and the last time I was on Bourbon Street, I was in my teens. So we're talking a good 30 years or more ago. It's been a long time. But the map that I was looking at, Canal Street intersects Bourbon Street. Bourbon Street is more of the secondary street.
Okay.
And it looks, I call it like a lane and a half. It's like big enough to have a car comfortably, but two cars, it's going to be really, really tight. But Canal Street appeared to be a much bigger boulevard.
Okay.
And so apparently he came from Canal and turned onto Bourbon Street and just gunned it.
Okay.
And from a lot of the reports I heard, he got up to speeds of like 60 miles per hour.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I just don't know. I think if you're afraid and a truck's going by, 25 miles per hour might look a lot faster. but he did not stop from hitting anybody. So he ran over people. There are reports from the last news thing that I watched that he might have shot at people as well. He crashed into like a boom, like one of those big lifts, and that's where police engaged him. He shot at the police, and the police stopped the attack and him forever.
Good.
And so I'm like, at least we don't have to worry about this is going to drive me insane. I can already tell. It keeps moving. I want it to stop. So police ended the attack, ended him. I did see a picture of him on Twitter, and he did look to be a African American male around my age, somewhere in his 50s, maybe 60s. I don't know if that's been confirmed yet. I did see right before we came on that they have identified him by name, and it is a Muslim sounding name, so, and I will tell you, but looking at the videos and the pictures on X, it was brutal, and there was not a lot that could be done. So it was a very surgical type of attack, I guess.
So I don't know if this is factual at all. This may be rumor mill. I don't know. But if you look at where his truck is, there's a flagpole in the back of it, and whatever was on that flagpole was covered up. There are some speculations that it was a like an ISIS type flag, like a black flag with the white writing in it, like ISIS does. I don't know that to be true. Do you know anything about that?
Same report that I listened to just before you and I decided to jump on. They have confirmed that it was an ISIS flag.
Okay.
So,
So another event, and we're going to be bouncing back and forth, but one that happened recently within the past hour and a half was there's a bombing outside of Trump's hotel in Las Vegas. There's a few people hurt. One person was killed, but it was a Tesla Cybertruck literally at the front door, and it exploded. Again, that happened an hour and a half ago. So there's no information really out on that. We just know that there was one fatality. Obviously, we're going to see more about it in the coming days. But one thing I'm scared about, or mindful about rather, is the potential for other attacks simultaneously, that continues to happen. Bad times.
bad times. So I was going to say one thing, two things that I really wanted to talk about. First with New Orleans, and then we'll talk about Las Vegas as well. But in New Orleans, the from what I saw, don't anybody think that I went down to New Orleans and took a look around like Nancy Reagan, because I did not. I've been safe here on at the lake, and I left for a little while. I went to Sprouts. That's there was nothing about it at Sprouts. So yeah, but from what I saw on X, and that's where, if you want to ever see unedited footage of anything, it's probably going to be on X. And everybody that I saw that was hurt was in the road.
Hmm.
And I thought, if you had had your cell phone the sidewalk, you probably would have seen something absolutely horrific, but you would have walked home. And I don't know that to be true. I don't know that the people who were injured were road, or if they were anywhere else, but especially the dead bodies and all the blood appeared to be on the road. And I get it. Bourbon Street is a pedestrian area. There's absolutely no way to get all those people on the sidewalk. But with that being said, just me being the uh, constant, vigilant person that I try to be, if I'm in an entertainment area, could you not, while we're talking, we're trying to be professionals here. Um, if I'm in a entertainment district like that, I'm going to constantly be scanning and trying to make sure that I'm in the safest way that I can be in an unsafe environment. So I'm probably going to be a little bit closer to a wall or to an entrance. I'm probably going to stay away from the middle of the crowd. Um, I'm probably, well, I'm not going to be out at 3 a.m. in the morning. I can tell you that. I'll be asleep on a bench maybe, but I'm not going to be out. And look, I'm not criticizing anybody for being in the quarter. I'm not criticizing any of the victims. Don't get me wrong. But personally, if I had been there, I would have been able to help the people who were injured. I probably would not have been one of the injured.
Yeah, and situational awareness is a huge thing. If I get killed, I promise you one thing: it's not going to be because I was in a crowd of people and some shit blew up or some shit hit me. Right? I'm not that type of person. The thing I have to worry about where I live at is Johnny Redneck blowing up his meth lab and getting me. You know what I'm saying? That being said, if to your point, if I'm gonna go out, situational awareness is gonna have to be the top of priority, right? And I can't have a victim mindset, right? I'm gonna have that. I'm not gonna be one, right? Um, but going back to what you said, there's not a lot we can do about a mobile threat like that. If you hear a truck rev up, get out of where it's gonna go. Keep your eyes peeled. Head on a swivel type thing. But that's a bad situation, and it's New Year's. Everybody's going to be partying. Everybody's drinking alcohol. Which that's something else. If you're in a crowd of people and you decide to drink, your situational awareness by proxy goes down because that's what alcohol does, right? It's relaxing. It's going to make us relax, but you can't be good in situational awareness under the influence. So that's a risk you take if you go out and drink. And I'm not saying anybody was drinking there. I don't know what the victims were doing, but probably, it's New Year's, let's party. But I'm almost at a loss for words, man. This is horrible.
It is. And I did not know about Las Vegas until you sent you sent me the text, and I was like, whoa. I would be willing to bet though that they are absolutely not related.
So I disagree, and here's why. Um, Going back to the Sean Ryan show, he brought a lady on named Sarah Adams. I think she's been on the podcast 3 or 4 times. I would strongly recommend you listen. He also had another guy on, call sign Legend. He is a Afghani freedom fighter that's still fighting over there. And then there's another guy, Masood Masad or something like that. Anyway, he's had several people in there, and he's went and interviewed these people, and they're all warning of terror attacks. So Sarah Adams was a CIA targeter. Um, she cut her teeth in terrorism. That's literally what she's done her entire career is focus on terrorism. Like she was in Benghazi, and she was pulled out of Benghazi a month before um, 13 hours happened. What was that, September 11th of 12, I think? Anyway, but she speaks on that, and she has been warning about all of the people or all the military age males that have come to the U.S. Now, a military age male is defined as like 15 to 65. I believe it's either 55 or 65, but that's what they brand as military age males that have come into the country. Um, Now, another thing with the New Orleans, and this is just something I read, I don't know the facts behind it, but that vehicle with those plates came through a U.S. border checkpoint for the Mexican American border. So now you have to wonder, is there cartel involvement with it as well? You know, there's a lot of
So
facets.
yeah, absolutely there is. And I'm strictly going from an educated anthropological mindset. I just don't think that there was a mastermind plot in New Orleans. It feels very emotional to me.
Why?
And yeah, so why 3 a.m.? Why not 11:30?
Hmm.
Why did you wait till the at 2 o'clock? It's pretty dead there. You're talking about 2 hours after the climax of the night, and he waited 3 hours after the party kind of was peaked and done. And as somebody who's been to New Year's Eve parties, really and truly, 1 o'clock, it's a lot thinner than it was at midnight. 2 o'clock, you might actually see people with brooms, and especially on Bourbon Street. I don't know if you know this about Bourbon Street. They have one of the best sanitation departments ever.
Really?
There's people, yes, man, people come out there day, every single day cleaning up.
Mm,
And yeah, because I mean, Bourbon Street is a tourist destination.
right.
But back to this, it just doesn't seem like, um, Osama bin Laden is sitting around telling somebody, okay, here's what I want you to do, and I'm going to take care of whatever's left. It really feels like somebody who was enticed by this frame of mind and who probably acted alone in the name of this movement. Again, all I've done today was go to the gym and get some food at Sprouts. Don't know, not law enforcement, don't know what's going on, going to stay out of their way, not building a conspiracy theory. But just from my education and from my experience, this New Orleans feels very emotional. You know, now Las Vegas seems much more symbolic, but to me personally, it doesn't seem so much like uh, ISIS as it does like homegrown terrorists, some sort of radicalization on the left, because a cyber truck was used on a Trump hotel. It's really like what you are literally saying that you don't like the new administration. I mean, that's
And I don't think it was a plan to attack the new coming U.S. president. I don't think that. Uh, if they think that that was an attack on them, they're freaking idiots, right? Um, but I will agree to that. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's some terrorism in there too, like, and again, we'll have to wait till the facts come out about it, like we'll see. But, I don't know. Like,
yeah. And again, if you're one of the two people that watch this on the regular, we're just two guys talking. We pay attention to stuff, we learn stuff. Neither one of us have a degree in uh, terrorism or home
speak for
security.
yourself.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Well, yours is
I
emergency management, isn't it?
Yeah, but we had to spend a lot of time with terrorism. So
Well, I think anybody
had a
going through any kind of recruit school nowadays, whether it be fire department, police department, military, you're gonna learn a lot about terrorism. Uh,
But in the studying of that, though, one thing that we really had to dive into is the border, and you would be surprised with the shit that comes through the border every single day. And you've got to thank the Biden administration, the Biden Harris administration, for allowing that to happen. It happened during the Trump administration, but not like this. We were doing things about it with the Trump administration the first time. I hope that continues the second time. But the amount of Middle Eastern fighting age males, right, that are coming through the border, insane. The amount of Chinese nationalists that are coming through the border, insane. What are we planning, right? China's planning some shit. Let's Trojan horse this thing up. Same way with the Middle Eastern. We can Trojan horse the U.S., and now we've got a breeding ground for potential terrorist activity. How about the U.S. government has been paying the Taliban like $40 billion? I think, is that a month? I think I can't remember, but they've been paying them like 40 billion every so often to we're financing the people that's blowing us up. That's a problem.
I think the number I heard recently was $14 million every month that is being funneled to the Taliban in aid to Afghanistan, which why that place isn't a glass skating rink is beyond me. But
Bingo.
this, like, I am not surprised by what's happening at the border. I am incredibly disappointed, especially under the Biden administration. That's just not a feasible policy. Do you ever listen to the podcast of the Lotus Eaters?
I have not.
English group. I'm not sure if they're Irish or if they're English, but they're in that arena, and they are very much concerned with the way that immigration is affecting the culture of the United Kingdom, and how all of these people are coming from other countries into their country, and they're saying, "Oh, we have to have these laws to protect us," and it's absolutely countercultural to their country, to the United Kingdom, and it's the same principles, it's the same policies that have brought in refugees and immigrants, and it's corrupting the native culture of the United Kingdom. And I'm sure that that's probably, someone's thinking, oh, you just don't want it to be white anymore. I don't give a shit whether it's white or any other color. If you come to America, you should come to embrace our culture, which is a very homogenous culture. We mix a whole lot of things together, and I'm glad for that, because I think it gives everyone an opportunity to be whoever they are. But don't come over here telling me that I can't have alcohol in certain places because it's going to be insensitive to people of the Muslim faith. I don't care. I don't care if it's insensitive. I'm not here to make you happy.
Yeah.
And something that I've really been thinking about today in light of all this, especially the thing in New Orleans, is this is probably a sad, lonely man who became radicalized by fantastic opinions that are counter to the culture of America. And he began going down a road that became radicalized. And that is a absolute lesson out of the playbook of us. That is
Yeah.
what we do when we go to another country, we send Green Berets to another country to build militias inside that country, to change culture. And I'm like, that's exactly what they're doing here. They are coming over here and planting ideas and finding weak, fringe people that will do things that fit their narratives. And I feel like that's what happened in New Orleans. I don't feel like there was a sale per se that chose someone to do this. Because usually when they do that, it's more bomb related. It's much bigger. This was sloppy, and
Well, he had a bomb with him. Let's remember that. He had an IED in his truck. It just didn't
they
activate.
yeah, they keep saying that, but people who heard the detonation said that it sounded a lot more like fireworks.
Hmm.
So
I
it's
didn't know it detonated.
they controlled detonated it.
Copy.
They got the little robot out there to drag it into the little crock pot. Well, not the crock pot, but
Yeah,
the
I know.
little thing that they put it in. And um, now the thing in Las Vegas, I would be willing to bet that that's Antifa based.
Think so?
I, what would be the point in securing $100,000 vehicle to blow up at a Trump hotel? Because
They
nobody thought that Trump was going to be in Las Vegas. Everybody knows where he was. I would have been more surprised to find out that he was at one of his properties in New York, but he was at Mar-a-Lago.
Mhm.
And so that was just, I feel like that's probably like a left-wing activist that's pissed off that we're about to get sane in the country again and got a Cybertruck from somewhere because Elon Musk became such a huge player and drove it to a Trump hotel. And most of the hotels in Las Vegas, they're huge glass fronts, they're soft targets. They've always been soft targets. They are made to invite you in. See what's going on in here and come in.
So you've said the word soft target several times. Would you mind explaining what a soft target is?
Yes. So you are probably going to be better to explain this, but in my conception of a soft target, it is considering it would be something that was considered low guarded, something that does not have any kind of structural defense, that does not have any type of real security, that it's not a defended position. So a police department is a fortified position. A fire department, sort of, but a school, super soft.
Yes. Yeah.
A grocery store, super soft.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. A densely populated street on New Year's, super soft, right? Um, and another very simple form of this, I want you to, as the listeners, I want you to think. I want you to picture a female in your mind, like a female just out for a run, right? If you wanted to, could you do something bad to said female? Probably, you know. Now I want you to think about like a 25, 30-year-old male who is buff bearded, got a bunch of tattoos. Are you going to fuck with them? The answer is probably no, right? So that's in a nutshell what soft versus a hard target is. Then we talk about supermarkets, densely populated areas, storefronts in Las Vegas versus a military installation, a police station, things like that. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. And first of all, I want you to know that I know a lot of buff, bearded, tattooed young men that are hipsters, and what they really want to do is get their toenails painted. But I also, and man, I'm going to tell you, I know some girls, if they're out jogging, you mess with them, you just bit the wrong bear. They will fuck you up.
Well, I'm
So,
trying to be stereotypical, right? I'm trying to play into the
yeah,
toxic masculinity, right?
hell yeah, I think it's great. But yeah, I, especially after the past couple years, I'm like, yeah, I'd probably pick on the dude first. He'd probably be a bigger pushover. He'd probably just want to call somebody and talk about it. but, but yeah, no, yeah, the whole Las Vegas thing, and I don't know anything at all about it. I know from you that it happened, and that it
Mhm,
happened with a symbol of Elon Musk and a symbol of Donald Trump. And to
mhm.
me, that just screams left wing um, activist more than it does ISIS. I Now, if it had been an American truck driving into the lobby and then exploding, that would scream ISIS to me.
Hmm.
And really and truly, man, hey buddy. Um, like I said, I don't think that there's like I don't know how ISIS works nowadays. I don't know how we let them still exist. But this feels more like somebody came up with this idea on their own in the name of something. Much like Timothy McVeigh bombing the Alfred P. Murrow building. It wasn't a group that did that. It was him.
Yeah, and in my studies, one thing we looked about is, besides the people that have like a mental disorder to where they're like, I'm just going to go make active violence, just like I don't know, something's causing them just to go ballistic. And it's kind of a freak accident, if you will. But
Yeah, they
like,
don't want to eat their muffin, and so they're going to kill people on the subway.
yeah.
Bringing it back.
Yes, yes. Got to have those self defense snacks, right?
Hell yeah.
But like, you look at the people that like ISIS is recruiting, and what you said is exactly right. People that are loners, they don't have many friends, and just about everybody that commits acts of violence, people that goes to school with them, is like, I could see it. Like we picked him growing up that he was going to do some shit like that. They don't have many friends, and they just want to be accepted by somebody. So, hey, you know, I'm going to accept you into my little club. Here is like some like minded people, and let me fill your head with all this garbage, brainwash you. And then, hey, I'm going to go give you a rice cooker that's got some explosive materials in it. And I want you to go to the Boston Marathon. It's little things like that that happens, you know?
Yeah. And now something I want to point out, like I don't know how much Antifa stuff you watch, but there's not any attractive heteronormative people in that group either. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say you don't see a lot of sexy people in Antifa. Unless you got a weird fetish of some kind. I guess I don't. I thought I did for a long time, and I think in the past 10 years, I'm like, I am so PG.
You know, I'm trying to think. Kyle Rittenhouse, you remember that situation?
Absolutely. BLM,
Remember?
another fringe group that poisons people's minds and gets them to act for an ideal, not for an actual. There's not like an actual commander.
Yeah. And BLM, just like the New York incident on the subway, they were all picking that one up because it was an unarmed African American that got killed by a white guy, Um, but it's really interesting that like we don't hear anything from them at all when it is a African American that commits act of violence like we're seeing in New Orleans. You know.
So who is the Skeletor lady? She's like a newscaster.
Um
Ann Coulter.
yes.
Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter. They said it on Kill Tony. It wasn't me. I'm just quoting it. So Ann Coulter was, I believe it was on Bill Maher, and they were talking about an incident of violence that had just happened, and it's not been a long time ago, but it's not been a recent time either. And she said, "Well, we know it's not a white guy." And he was like, "There's no way you could know that." She said, "Oh, yes, there is, because if it had been a white guy, we'd already have a social security number. We could get credit cards in his name. But if it's anybody other than a white guy, we've got to make sure." And, like the guy in New Orleans, it's like, yeah, well, he came out of the truck and got killed by police. It's pretty clear, unless it was some sort of quantum leap, that was him. We could talk about him.
Yeah. You know what I think is very interesting about the whole thing? So I've been very limited on what I've actually seen about New Orleans, but I did see this FBI lady that's like, I just want to assure everybody this is not an act of terrorism. There's an ISIS flag. It is an act of terrorism until proven otherwise. You can't make that decision in 5 freaking hours. This isn't an act of terrorism. Bullshit. I beg to damn differ.
Yeah, I think this is semantics at this point, because I think this is going back to kind of the point you and I have been playing ping pong with. I think that it's absolutely an act of terror. This man did this to terrorize a community,
Mm-hmm.
to rock the safety of a community. Now, did he get commands from a central figure? I don't think so. I think he fed into an ideology where they said this kind of thing is okay. It is just like the lynchings that used to happen in America, when people just thought it was okay to kill a black man because of an accusation. It is the exact same mentality, that you don't have to actually push the button. All you have to do is plant the idea and let it grow.
Yeah,
It,
and there's no clear definition of like what terrorism is. You know, they bounce back and forth of what the definition is, but there is not an actual clear and concise one. Um, but you are putting fear and coercion in a group of people. You know, it doesn't matter what that group is. That group could be the African American community. It could be um, the white community. It could be just the nation in general. You know.
yeah. Um, and, this is one of the reasons why we never could win Afghanistan. We weren't there fighting a specific group. We were there fighting an ideal, and you can't win.
Yeah, and you know, it's very hard to fight guerrilla warfare in general. It's really hard. You know, the Russians have still not did a good job of that. You know, how many guerrilla conflicts have they been in? Several. They were in Afghanistan first, if we remember correctly. And I can't
Yeah.
remember what government armed the Taliban at the time. Can't remember what government that was. I'm pretty sure it was fucking ours. You know, that armed the Taliban to fight the Russians, and now what are we doing in Ukraine? Same shit. You know, they're more of a militarized force than guerrilla warfare, but there's still some guerrilla activities that's taking place in Ukraine. And by no means am I on Ukraine side. I am not at all. I think Zelensky is a fucking clown, um, and we should not be giving them money because Ukraine is not they're not the helpless person that they claim to be. They've been doing shady shit for years, you know. Nevertheless, that is a media war right there.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're trying to make it a David and Goliath, and it's just not that. Obviously, I was watching War Fronts yesterday, and both Ukraine and Russia, they're just running out. Like, Russia's running out of stuff to send down there, and Ukraine's done a really good job of just wearing them down. They haven't really made any real advancements, but they've not lost a whole lot. And it's just it. I don't know. I'll be glad when that's over, and I feel like Trump will probably have something to do with it, or at least claim responsibility for it. Either way, I'm okay. I'm just tired of all of our money going over there.
Yeah, especially when we can't send anything to Appalachia when Tropical Storm Helene come through. You know,
All we have to do is redivert one aid package from to Ukraine to Appalachia.
yeah,
Just one. It's like, hey, Ukraine, hope the best for you. You got some good shit, but um, we got some hillbillies here that need our help.
100%. You know,
Yeah,
100%. It's getting cold outside, man. Like, and there's so many people that still don't have anything. You know, it's so sad that this stuff is happening here, but we are so worried about what's happening in other countries that it's got nothing to do with us at all.
yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit that Russia is fighting Ukraine and Ukraine is fighting Russia. I don't care, not one bit. But you know,
I
like we
don't
can't
care
even
that.
burn people.
Yeah, I don't care that Palestinians are hungry, or that Israel still hasn't got all their hostages back. I don't care that there's fighting in Darfur or anywhere in Africa. I care that we're looking at snow in Florida this coming week, and the people in the mountains are getting help from Windigoon, not FEMA. Well, I know you have plans coming up, and I need to get supper cooked, so we'll tie this one up for the night. Um, hope everyone is being safe. If you are affected by the terror events of the New Year's, I hope that you will reach out to someone and find appropriate help.
Yeah, 100%. Really take care of yourself. What happened is not normal. And the body's reaction to something that is not normal can be very hard, you know? So I would strongly urge you to get help if you're affected, you know, even if you're not affected and you think that like if some symptoms start onsetting in a few days, seek some help. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well said. Stay safe, my friend.
You as well, brother.
Everyone else, hope you are as well. Have a good night.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.